Imagine you wake up on election day, head to the polling unit, ready to cast your vote for change. You believe this one vote could shift your future, your community's future. But behind the scenes, heavy bags of cash are exchanging hands, with several billion vans on the move. Food items are distributed in nylon bags with smiling faces printed on them, not out of generosity, but to buy the votes of hungry citizens. The state resources are quietly turned into campaign tools. Same with public funds to be used for hospitals, clearly turned into campaign materials. Overspending becomes a sport in our political system. The regulators pretend not to see, the media normalizes the drama, and we, the people, scroll past it, acting like it's normal, like our collective conscience can be prized. For the sake of 2027, I need to say this. Our elections are not just rigged by politicians, they are mortgaged by our silence. Every time we laugh off vote buying as a Nigerian reality, we endorse a system that keeps us poor, powerless, and predictable. Every time we accept money to sell a vote, we sell 4 years of dignity. This is not democracy. And the people paying the price are the citizens who believed their one vote could make a difference. My name is Menkiti Vincent. Welcome to Civic Room. Today, we pull back the curtain on money in politics in Nigeria. Ask who is really benefiting and explore how you, yes, you, can reclaim the process. Let's begin with the truth. The arena of elections in Nigeria is no longer just politics. It is big money, hidden transactions, unequal starting line. Analysis of our system shows that campaign financing in Nigeria remains deeply opaque. The lack of transparency has allowed for unchecked influence of special interest groups in Nigerian politics. The body tasked with regulating this, the Independent National Electoral Commission, has failed to enforce key rules. You see, INEC's failure in campaign finance regulation is a major problem for our electoral system. Unchecked money destroys credibility of elections. The biggest tragedy of our electoral system is that the system is rigged in favor of those with money, not ideas, not integrity, not genuine public support. Let's break down a few of the pressure that shape our Nigerian election. First, there's the huge entry costs that decides who can contest and who can win. Candidates face massive expenses, nomination forms that cost millions, endless travels, billboard rallies, campaign materials, media time. But when you look beyond the surface, you begin to see the darker layer of this money in politics. Undeclared contributions, mysterious donors, an envelope that passed under the table. This is the reason why capable young people cannot even step onto the field. Then comes the second pressure, vote buying, the culture of clientelism. Money in Nigerian politics and Nigerian election doesn't just buy posters or microphones. It buys people, votes, silence, food packs, cash transfer, mobilization allowance. All part of the broken rituals that trade people's conscience for monetary relief. These practices have subverted the most sacred democratic principle: one person, one vote, free choice. Elite Project observed that the rapid growth of campaign expenditure and huge amounts of money involved in some elections make it impossible for those without access to large private funds to compete. What that means in plain language is simple. The more you can spend, the louder your own version of democracy appeals. The third layer is unequal playing field, where incumbents control state resources, media access, and institutional levers, while challengers fight uphill battles. The system is built to protect those already in power, allowing them to stay inside the circle while locking others out. Campaign financing has been a major concern in Nigerian election. Large sums of money give certain parties and candidates undue advantage. This imbalance turns elections into endurance tests and not ideas. And then there is the fourth and perhaps the most frustrating factor: weak enforcement and weak transparency. On paper, the law looks solid. The Electoral Act of 2022 sets spending limits, demand financial disclosure, and prescribe penalties for abuse. But in practice, compliance is almost non-existent. The penalties are light, the oversight is timid, and the political will to enforce is missing. Only a handful of parties have ever published detailed expense reports, and it came under pressure, not principle. What we have seen is a system that writes strong laws but practice weak democracy. When campaign finance rules is optional, elections become predictable, transparency become negotiable, accountability disappear. Why does this matter to you as a young Nigerian citizen? The game is rigged. And when the game is rigged, it's your hope that is played. You start to feel your vote does not count, your voice doesn't matter, your future is already auctioned off to the highest bidder. And when that happens, something dangerous takes root: apathy. You stop showing up, you stop believing, you stop caring. And this is what scares me the most. When young people stop caring about the system, a generation too tired to fight, too discouraged to demand better. Every rigged system fears an awakened citizen, because the moment you start challenging these issues, they start taking a different route. They begin to know that young people are questioning it. The system is designed to control who gets in and who stays out. It's the web of money, power, and influence that decides who runs for office, who wins, and who watches from the sideline. That's how the machinery works in Nigeria, through godfatherism, backroom deals, pay-to-play politics. And that's exactly how young people, I think, get squeezed out. And not because they lack ideas, but because the system was never designed to get them to compete. I want to walk you through the machinery so that you will not only know the problem, but know where you fit in, where you are being squeezed out, and how you can push back. First, there is money, the biggest barrier to entry. If you are a young Nigerian with ideas, energy, and vision, but without tens of millions for party nomination fees, campaign logistics, or media exposure, you are already behind. The cost of contesting begins at the party level. Some nomination fees run into tens of millions of naira. This financial gatekeeping doesn't just filter candidates, it filters diversity. It excludes youth, women, and anyone without deep pockets, leaving us with a political class that reflects wealth, not the will of the people. But it's not just about how much money is spent, it's about where the money comes from. The shadow financing of Nigerian politics runs deep, from cash gifts and undisclosed corporate contribution to the misuse of state resources disguised as campaign materials. These funds are not charity. They come with invisible strings. Once a candidate accepts big money, they owe big politician a favor. Candidates with the most money almost always win. Wide discrepancies in levels of funding results in political exclusion of those who cannot afford the cost. There is culture of vote buying. Let's be blunt. When you walk into a rally and receive cash, gifts, the message it sends is that your vote comes with a price tag. You have turned your citizenship into a commerce. Vote buying remains a rampant issue in African politics. In Nigeria, there is a worrying trend. Cash gifts, food, fertilizers, it's challenging to draw the line between palliatives and vote buying. The consequence is that your vote stop being transformational, it becomes merely a transaction. Another piece of the machinery is the misuse of state power. Campaigns often begin long before official window open. We saw that with Tinubu administration. Incumbents use state funds, government vehicles, and public events disguised as official duties to gain unfair advantage. Former INEC chairman Atahir Jaga once warned that such premature campaigning creates uneven playing field. And in that case, respect for law is eroded. And when that happens, the field isn't just tilted, it is sloped. Even where the law exists, enforcement is often toothless. As the National Democratic Institution observed, ahead of the 2023 election, campaign financing remained opaque. Without real oversight and enforcement, contestants' fundraising remained largely unaccountable. That means even the rules meant to level the playing field often remain unused, leaving citizens trapped in a system that rewards impunity. That is sad for me. This is how the machinery works. Layer upon layer of exclusion, money, silence, and control. It doesn't just keep young people out of power, it keeps hope out of politics. So what can you do? First, understand this. The system only shifts when youth voices rise together. That collective pressure is the only reform pathway that has ever worked anywhere in the world. And this generation, more than ever before, has the numbers, the language, and the reach to make that happen. It begins with knowing your right, not in the abstract, but as a lived power. Your vote is not just your mark on paper, it's your constitutional instrument. You have the right to free and fair election, to transparency, to stand in line without fear of intimidation, and to have your ballots count without interference. Knowing this matters because in Nigeria, ignorance is the first tool of oppression. Once you understand how the process works, the phases of voting and how the result is announced and how the manipulation happens will begin to set in. And that knowledge doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. But knowledge must lead to vigilance. Across the country, civil society is already tracking the process, monitoring campaign financing, mapping irregularities, documenting misuse of public funds. You can be part of that civic network. Watch how campaigns are funded, who sponsors what, where state vehicles or government events are being used for politics. Every time citizens observe, record, report, they weaken the machinery of impunity, because a system that cannot be watched is a system that remains corrupt. And then there is the moral test of election. The envelope slipped into your hand, the bag of rice, the transport allowance. These are not gifts, they are transactions. When you accept them, you sell more than your vote. You sell your voice, your agency, your future. Think of it this way. The person buying your vote today is already calculating how to recover the investment when they get into office. Through contracts, appointments, and silence, the youth of this country cannot afford to keep trading tomorrow for today. Transparency must become our rallying cry. Campaign finance laws exist, but they mean nothing without citizen enforcement. Ask uncomfortable questions. Which candidate has published their expense reports? Who disclosed their donors? Who obeyed the spending caps? If the answer is no one, then the reform begins with you asking why. Silence has been the strongest shield for corruption in this country, and I genuinely believe that it is time to break it. Reform isn't only about elections. You can influence politics without running for office. Join youth-led movements, all over the country demanding open primaries, reduction of nomination fees, and stronger financial disclosure. Support civil society campaigns that advocate public funding for parties and real penalties for those who break the rules. Push for legislation that enforce transparency and ensure that the culture of selective enforcement doesn't just remain. The question is whether you would like to act as a spectator or a shareholder. Technology too is on your side. Every smartphone, every app, every online platform is a civic tool. Civil society has shown how digital transparency can expose malpractices in real time. Live streaming from polling units, data-driven tracking of campaign spendings, citizen reports. There are so many innovations going on. I think that young people are already equipped. The question is, do you want to use that power? So when people ask, what can I do? The answer is simple. Everything that turns silence into scrutiny and scrutiny into accountability. That is what is most important. We have to have a vibrant citizenry, and it starts with young people. If there is one reform we must chase with everything that we've got, one change that could alter the entire trajectory of Nigerian politics, it's this: real transparency and public accountability in electoral financing. Why this one? Because everything else flow from it. You cannot have fair campaigns, youth inclusion, and equal opportunity when the foundation, money, is hidden. The moment we don't know who funds who, politicians stop being public servants. They become private investors. When money is concealed, democracy becomes theater. The rules are performed, not practiced. And behind that curtain, donors and power brokers call the shot. When campaign finance become open, when spending is disclosed and donations are tracked, something fundamental shifts. Politicians become accountable to citizens, not donors. Transparency in campaign money would lower the cost of entry, open doors for women, young people, and reform-minded candidates. It would expose vote buying network, reduce clientelism, and rebuild public trust in elections. Trust is essential for youth to engage actively in politics. Civil society has been saying this for years. Nigeria's political funding system remains largely opaque, perpetuating corruption and undermining democracy, a shadow economy of influence. And this isn't just technical, it's moral, it's generational, because the young citizens, the digital generation, the ones inheriting this republic, will live the consequence of today's compromises. We must demand audited reports that are publicly accessible, real-time tracking for spending, sanctions that actually bite, and donor logs that anyone can see, not someday, not after the election, now. Because once you follow the money, we can follow the truth. If you're still listening right now, this is your moment, your cue to act. Start where every citizen's power begins. Your vote. Go check your registration, know your polling unit, understand the election calendar. These are not small things. They are the foundation of political accountability. Then, don't walk this road alone. Organize your friends, your peers, create a group with your friends to keep tabs on what is happening in politics. Who are the potential candidates? What are they saying? Does their actions and their words align? And don't stop there. Question those who want your support. When you attend events where candidates are, ask them clearly, where is your campaign funding coming from? Will you publish your spending? Will you commit to an open budget? Let them know that you are watching. Democracy grows sharper under citizen scrutiny. Demand transparency from INEC and from your state electoral commissions too.